One of the problems that I like to at least point out is many of these Democratic run cities where there's a bunch of problems I'd like to point out, but the problems have been going on for a long time. Now, how many times do you see Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer or Mad Maxine Waters talking about all these problems of systemic racism and income inequality, and yet they've been in politics for literally decades? Donald Trump has been in government for literally 4 years, and he solved a lot of problems. But this is the problem that I see with a lot of politicians now. Even before I became more right leaning as I got older, I've always been very skeptical of the government. Like I never really trusted government. I had a very negative view in terms of politicians. Right? I didn't even trust Obama, to be honest with you. But even you could say that even though I was left leaning, I was more of a libertarian. Like I was surprised because I remember my political science teacher telling me that I'm more libertarian than liberal. I thought it was a liberal, but he told me no. In actuality, your political ideologies tend to match those of libertarians, right? And lack of trust for the government. I was surprised, to the least. But to some degree, I think he was right. Because even then, I still don't have a lot of trust for politicians, but I'm actually a lot more critical of them now because they like to point out the problems, but they've been in politics for decades and yet they don't seem to solve them. Well, in terms of politicians, the mayor of Atlanta is now being called out by the NAACP. Now, if you don't know what the NAACP is, it's an organization that tries to basically improve the lives of African Americans, and they're mostly notorious for their involvement during the civil rights movement and with the leadership of Martin Luther King Jr. Now, I'm not going to criticize the NAACP because I think what they did was a lot of good. Right? I think the organization, to some degree, at least from what I know of, their goal is to do good, and at least I appreciate them for calling out the nonsense that's going on in Atlanta. But now the NAACP is giving Mayor Keisha Bottoms an ultimatum. If you don't do your job to better the lives of your community, then you need to leave office. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, the NAACP actually calling out the nonsense. Because how many times do people always pull the race card that says, "Well, I'm a Hispanic, therefore I can better my Hispanic community more than the white man." And in reality, these same people just don't care. They don't care about us. Like they really don't. For example, like I think my representative right now is Senator Luke Correa. As much as I like him as an individual, because I met him before, I was friends with one of his sons. As much as I like him as a person, I think he's a very terrible politician because he's been in politics for a long time. He was my state senator, and then now he's a member in the U.S. House. But again, like as much as I liked him as a person, I didn't like how he's been in politics for so long and yet he hasn't improved the betterment of my community. So I just called him out for it. I told him as a politician, I think you are not doing much, but as a person, as a father, as a family man, I think you do a good job, right? And he respected that. He's one of the few people that actually at least still is able to have a disagreement with someone but still get along with him, which much respects to Mr. Luke Correa. But there's other politicians who will blatantly tell you, "I will better your community," and yet they don't do anything. In fact, do the opposite. Well, now the NAACP is going after Mayor Bottoms, and recently she actually also she tried to blame the violence in her city to Donald Trump. Now, I will get to that later at the end of this article. But let's see what the NAACP has to say, shall we? Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, a Democrat, is facing increasing pressure to resign over her handling of recent events around the city, including the death of a young girl who was shot and killed near Wendy's, where a police officer fatally shot Rayshard Brooks after he resisted arrest. The girl, 8-year-old Sequoia Turner, was killed as violent criminals opened fire on a car that her mother was driving, and she was trying to pull a U-turn to get away from the rioters. They didn't give us time to make a U-turn, Turner's mother said. They started shooting at my car before we could even make a U-turn, shooting my tires out. Like, why? And social justice activists blamed Bottoms for Turner's death, saying, "Keisha, we begged y'all for help. You said your schedule was so busy that you didn't have time to meet with the activists, so you only got time when it's good for you. If you would have been doing your job, if Atlanta PD would have been doing their job, then no one would have been killed. How is Sequoia's blood not on your hands?" And props to this activist for calling this out. Like I said, Bottoms has actually tried to pin the blame of Sequoia Turner on Donald Trump, calling him, a terrible leader, lack of leadership from the highest office of the land. Again, I'll get to that later. But she has tried to steer the blame away from her. I'm glad that this social justice activist is actually calling out Bottoms and saying that, no, the blood is on your hands. Because again, it's her city. There's a reason why we have local governments, state governments, and federal governments. The federal government can only do so much. That is why you have states. The states reside, obviously, they remain order, they establish order, and they establish law at the state level. But the federal government only comes in when it's necessary. The federal government can be everywhere at once, and that's why the founding fathers wanted it that way. The founding fathers didn't want a strong central government. That is why they divided the powers amongst the federal government and the state government. And that is why a lot of these politicians are demanding a bigger government because they do not want to do the job themselves. Well, to Mayor Bottoms, now she's realizing that it's her job to begin with, and she can't be going out and blaming it on someone that, first of all, isn't even in Atlanta to begin with. Attorney Gerald Griggs, vice president of the Atlanta NAACP, agreed that Bottoms was responsible for Turner's death on July 4th. Even an attorney, even an attorney, the vice president of the Atlanta NAACP, even agrees that that blood is on Bottom's hands, but she doesn't want to accept it. Keisha to call you guys out and say blood is on your hands is not true, Griggs said, according to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. The blood is on her hands. Preach, preach, brother. Preach, preach. You are saying what needs to be said and you're calling them out. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Get off CNN, get off MSNBC, get off Fox, get off ABC. Hallelujah, man. Keep preaching it. It's the news. I'm telling you. Griggs continued. The community is down here. We want to end police brutality on your watch, Keisha. If you can't do it, you need to pack up your office. And boy, I agree. If all you do is complain, if all you do is nag about these problems, but you don't do anything about it, then get out of office. There's a reason why a lot of people are respecting Donald Trump because the guy just says what he's gonna do. He's not saying, well, we need to deal with border security. We need to stop, China and Mexico from ruining this country, stuff like that, right? You don't hear Trump complaining. He just says and does it. He says we're gonna build a wall. We're gonna fight back against China. We're gonna make sure that all jets from China come over here. The guy's a doer. That's why the president of Goya Foods complimented Donald Trump. He's a guy who does things. He doesn't complain about them. He does things, which I respect in a person. Bottoms initially tried to hold the community responsible for what happened, saying you can't blame this on a police officer. You can't say this about criminal justice reform. This is about some people carrying some weapons who shot up a car with an 8-year-old baby in the car. Bottoms said, We've got to stop this. We are doing each other more harm than any police officer on this force. We had over 75 shootings in the city over the past several weeks. You can't blame that on the Atlanta PD. Boy, she's sounding like Hillary Clinton. Well, I know it wasn't my fault I lost the election. It's the Russians. It's Donald Trump. It's sexist voters. She's sounding like Hillary Clinton. She doesn't want to take responsibility for it. She's blaming it on Trump. She blames it on the community, and yet in reality, it's her fault. She's the mayor. Why isn't she establishing order? But here comes the part where she blamed Trump for what's going on. She quotes. I read and I quote. And I hate to use the word a perfect storm, but it is where we're in this country right now, Bottoms continued. And you think about the leadership, or the lack thereof, that we have coming from the highest office in the land, I think that you are seeing so many emotions play out, and so too often, it's playing out in violence in our streets. Well, Mayor Bottoms, you are to blame, not the president, not your city. You are to blame. Because when the Atlanta PD, when your DA is charging an officer who defended himself against a man who was not only resisting arrest, but he also had a very violent criminal record. When your DA is charging an officer who defended himself in every step according to the law, because what the officer did was not illegal. What the officer did, he acted in every step according to the law. The officer did nothing illegal. Self-defense. So when your DA is charging an officer who rightfully defended himself with felony murder, when your city is burning to the ground and you are refusing to support your police department, you can expect your police department officers to call out sick, the blue flu, and you can expect a lot of police officers to not show up. They won't take calls, they're just going to chill in their cars, or you can expect them to quit. But you can't just keep blaming it on everyone except for you. You're the only one who's responsible for this. That 8-year-old girl, Sequoia Turner, she died because of your inability to actually take action. You do not want to stop these people. You're complaining about the violence, but you don't want to stop it. How about instead of being a Hillary Clinton, be a Donald Trump? Don't complain, just do it. Stop complaining about people shooting up your community. Just do it. Stop the violence. You have the power to do so, but you don't want to because you are afraid of the mob. This woman, she's a coward. She can't take responsibility for herself, and now the NAACP is calling for her resignation. And I think they have every right to call for a resignation, and I think she should resign because when there's lack of leadership, I don't think she should be in office. Because those people in Atlanta, they elected her to do her job, and she's not doing it. So what do? Get someone else. That's the beauty of this country, and that's why I like it. You don't like what these people are doing? You can always vote them out. You can. You don't like what Donald Trump's doing? You can vote him out. But don't cry when you lose. That's the beauty of democracy. We go by what the people say. And if the people say we want Donald Trump for another 4 years, suck it up. Suck it up. Conservatives dealt 8 years with Obama. They weren't torching buildings. They weren't destroying neighborhoods and burning down cities. That's the left. But let me know what you guys think about this. Do you think that the mayor of Atlanta, Keisha Bottoms, do you think she should resign? Do you agree with the NAACP when they say that if you can't do the job, then just quit. Get out of here. We can get someone else. Do you agree with what the NAACP is saying? And who do you think has the blood on their hands? Donald Trump or Mayor Bottoms? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. If you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe, share it with your friends. That helps out a lot. And I'll see you guys in the next video in regards to what's going on in Minneapolis. Yes, another right-related video. And after that, I'm going to do a fourth video, final video, in regards to the Second Amendment. I hope you guys can stick around for that one. But I'll see you guys in a bit.